Hello. Welcome to the 12th part of Max Level Newbie. And first of all, I wanted to say thanks to all of you for your great support to this series. And if you want me support financially, you can join my Patreon only for $5. My goal is 50 Patreon and then I will become a full-time YouTuber. And special thanks to my first Patreon Zoa C. If you want to support me, Patreon and Discord links are in the description. And thank you very much. Let's begin. At the beginning of this part we see a flashback where Casey, Judilo, they were witnesses to the cruel murder of their own parents by a psychopathic murderer. But even in this harsh situation, the twins revolted. They picks up some sharp. Casey jumps on murderer's head and stabs him in the neck. Judilo stabs him in stomach. They worked together to successfully avenge their parents. However, they would never be able to go back. A copy condition appears in front of him saying, if you are able to satisfy their twisted desires, you can copy their skill, all sharing. What the hell? Now there's even storytelling in the copying requirements. They both gets really excited and jumps toward Jinhyuk to attack. Jinhyuk gets ready and grabs their weapons and stops them easily. Jinhyuk thinks, the speed and power. The combination attacks. They're pretty skilled. He kicks both of them in face. They both smile and says, I knew it. He's strong. They both get ready again. And combine two pieces of equipment. And says, let's go again. They activate twins. A message popped up saying, coping the weapon of opponent whose proficiency is high and sharing it. Synergy has occurred. Attack power has increased by 200%. Judilo says, just one hit, please. Casey says, I want to smell that blood in my hand. I've never smelled such blood before. Jinhyuk rubs his neck and think, I don't feel so energetic. Alright, let's go. After that we see in the Empire some says, congratulations, Sir Penheimer. Congratulations of scouting Kong Jinhyuk. Penheimer says, it's too soon. I only managed to get him to make a promise. They say, there's no need to be humble. Penheimer says, it's all thanks to you help. Someone says, he will definitely be of great help in the middle floor's fight for power. Good work, Sir Penheimer. Muram Elder is frustrated and thinks, I didn't want to see the Empire bastards happy. It was foolish of me to act rashly just because of the ancient dragon. Shadow appears and says, Moyong Su. It's you, ghostly blood leader. Shadow says, I didn't expect a stern orthodox sect man like you to seek me out. What an incident. He says, lower your voice. This cannot be known by others. Shadow says, so, who do I need to dispose of? Is it that Kong Jinhyuk this Empire bastards are talking about? Elder says, no, get rid of the group that works with Kong Jinhyuk. They're always the most annoying when trying to get rid of the Kong Jinhyuk. Shadow says, well, I don't care who it is, but since this breaking the floor rule, the fees will be rather tremendous. Is that alright? I was just asking in case, don't be mad. Shadow disappears and Elder says, arrogant unorthodox sect bastard. Elder thinks, if we get Kong Jinhyuk taken away by Empire like this, then I'm dead even if I go back. Then, he bring out a small box and thinks, I'll just have to get rid of him myself. Casey and Judilo swings around their weapons to attack Jinhyuk. Jinhyuk dodges. They both attack him at the same time. He jumps to dodge the attack. He activates Demon King's steps. And he also activates Soul Blood Sucking. He hits them a bunch of time and earns 0.3 mana. They both give creepy smiles and Casey says, it feels like something leaving me. Judilo says, I've never felt this before. Jinhyuk says, if you express you pleasure like that, and punches them in stomach. And says, it makes me feel ill. Jinhyuk thinks, I do want the all-sharing skill. But how am I supposed to satisfy these perverts? I've never felt this frustrated before. The both are barely able to stand. Casey says, he's strong. Judilo says, yeah, he's definitely strong. Jinhyuk think this is taking up too much time. I guess I have to kill them. Jinhyuk brings out his dagger. They both bow down in front of Jinhyuk. He sees that says, what are you guys doing? Casey says, we realized that we can't win against you even with the two us. Judilo says, if we can't kill someone with blood as sweet as yours, we want to at least be your family so that we can stay close to you. He is confused but still uses Brand of Tribulation on them. He succeeds in copying all sharing rank a skill. The both are really happy. Jinhyuk thinks, I didn't expect it to be resolved like that. They both grabs him and says we're now family. We're gonna be together forever. Until death. Chun, Alice and Teresa are walking inside the dungeon. Chun says, so, where's Kong Jinhyuk? Alice says, I don't know. Chun says, then where are we going? She reply, I don't know. Chun gets really angry says, what do you know? Teresa grabs him and says, calm down. I can't really say it, but I'm certain. She thinks, the fine mana supply line, connected to the contractor, is heading this way. She says to them, if we go this way, we'll meet my counter. No Kong Jinhyuk will be there. Someone appear behind them and says, that's so. Some shadow soldiers come out of the ground. One of them says, then, I can't let you go any further. You will all have to die here. He is Marim's unorthodox sect ghostly blood leader Yom-ho. Teresa says, stay behind us, Alice. She gets really angry and think, Kong Jinhyuk, where are you? I don't even have man right now because I'm far from you. Judalois says, right, so where was it again? Casey says, the thigh. Right, the thigh. I stabbed them in the thigh with a metal railing this big. I felt their bone break. So with the metal railing. Jinhyuk is frustrated and thinks, I'm running out of social energy. Jinhyuk says, Casey, Judalo. Since you guys are family, listen up. Jinhyuk smiles and says, you can't just kill because you want to from now on. Can you promise that? And activates Brank of Tribulation. A message popped up saying, a new rule has been set. Judalo says, it's not like the cops will arrest us. Casey says, we're awakened anyway. Jinhyuk thinks, it makes things annoying for me. Jinhyuk says, then let's do this instead. I'll pick out the bad guys from now on. You can do whatever you want to those guys, okay? They get really happy. Jinhyuk thinks, I'm glad they're simple. Jinhyuk feels something, and activates Sword Demon King steps. And run somewhere they say, wait for us hung. After that we see that ghostly blood soldier attack Alice. Teresa appear in front of them. And uses Sacred Reinforcement. She also activates Sacred Shield. Teresa says, Alice, stay behind me. Chun activates, Soul Chasing Sword Chi. And attack a lot of soldiers at once. Their leader attacks him with super speed. Chun blocks his attack with his sword. Yomho says, you know how to use sword chi despite being an outsider. How interesting. Who are you? Chun gets angry and says, screw off. There's no way I'd tell my name to some like you. Yom jumps back and says, what a feisty one. Chun says, feisty. Alright, I'll show you feisty. Chun activates, Song of Swords. And says, I was gonna save this kill for him. Yom says, what did you say? Chun says, this skill isn't something I intended to use on you. And use a lot of slash attack. Soul Chasing Sword Arts, one with the sword. It kill a lot of shadow soldiers. Teresa sees that and thinks, Yu Sung is really strong. Yom says, I see you're skilled enough to be one with the blade. But what a shame. Yom uses Ghostly Blood Blade. Chun was barely able to stop his attack. Yom says, you're skilled. But I happen to be your opponent. Chun throws up blood, and some red energy is coming out of his body. Yom says, you would have done great considering you reached that realm on your own. Yom is about to stab him and says, a wake of a talent. Teresa activates Sign of the Cross. And hits Yom with a powerful attack. Yom says, what an annoying skill. It was a big mistake to come here. When you have divine power. The surround Alice and says, you should have protected that child. Yom says, seeing as you're in the back. You're not specialized for battle, are you? She closes her eyes and says, late. Jinhyuk appears there and uses Grave of Swords and attack kills a lot of them with a single attack. He cuts down a lot more of them. Yom gets scared to see that and thinks, I couldn't even keep up with his movements at all. Teresa is happy to see him and says, Jinhyuk. Jinhyuk says, why are you always losing? Teresa says, it's not that Yusing's weak. These people are just really strong. Jinhyuk says, really? He spins around his finger and says, except for us. Those are all bad guys. Casey and Judalo jumps and Casey sassy, she said they're strong. They starts to kill them Yom's army member instantly. Yom sees them and thinks, another group of skilled fighters. It's disadvantageous for us now. We'll have to retreat for a bit and recuperate. Yom coughs out blood. And says, what just? He stabs himself and says, this is my Jinhyuk says, Yom Ho. Don't be so arrogant. You're only a middle rank higher up in the demonic cult. Fighting you is getting very stale. Yom's army gets scared and says, the leader. Jinhyuk says, twins, there are still bad guys that are alive. They say okay and starts to kill them. Chun sees him and thinks. He killed an enemy that easily destroyed my ultimate attack. With just one attack. He gets angry and thinks, how much more I have to try. In order to catch up to you. Twins kill all the member of Yom's army. Jinhyuk says, them good job. I still have some work left to do, so you guys go first. Make sure to avoid the traps. Teresa says, to Jinhyuk, those two are the infamous. Jinhyuk says, yes, they're my company's new employees. Chun says, what are you gonna do now? From what I can remember, this labyrinth takes at least 20 days to complete. Jinhyuk says, 20 days. Newbies must have all the time in the world. Jinhyuk asks Teresa, what's wrong with him? She says, I'm not sure. Jinhyuk says, these guys will open the path to the king's grave. All 5 spirits stand in front of him doing a pose. Jinhyuk says, if we get the right items there, we'll be able to clear this place in an hour. Alice sees them and says, you've gotten a lot more pets. Teresa picks up the dragon and says, wow, they're so cute. Jinhyuk says, enough fooling around. Show us the path. Spirit says, yes, sir. One of the Yom's soldiers is alive and open his eyes. After that we see it Zonghua Guild. Zonghua Guild higher up shouting. She says, there sure are a lot. She thinks, it's already been 24 hours since Liao Wei and Nangong Tian went into the tower. When will they be back? She sees a lot of people walking on the road and thinks. Everyone seems to be at peace. Would they know how vulnerable they are right now? In a situation where the world's top rankers are unreachable. She thinks, there's no need to worry the civilians. We see back inside the tower, all the spirits are using their full power to open the door. They go inside the king's grave. There are a lot of treasures. Jinhyuk says, everyone, don't touch the treasure. Message popped up saying, those who have entered the grave may pick at trees. Those who are greedy will be inflicted with the king's curse. Jinhyuk says, pick just one. Jinhyuk points toward the golden bell and says, can you see that? If you ring it, the path out of this labyrinth opens. It's that easy. Yeah. If you're gonna keep complaining, just ring that thing and leave. I don't wanna hear it. Jinhyuk says, it should be around here somewhere. A shadow soldier appears on the door. Chun says, what are you doing here? I didn't know you were alive. He brings out a scroll and use early spring. Spatial transition happening. Jinhyuk sees that and thinks, spatial transition. Muram Elder and a big samurai army appear in front of them. Soldier says, the ghostly blood troop died with the leader. Elder says, useless things. I knew the unorthodox sect couldn't be trusted. Good job, Liao Wei. Jinhyuk says, you used a divine artifact Zhu to find me. Wouldn't the manager be mad about this if they were to find out? He opens up a small box, there is small black pill inside it. He says, mangers cannot look into this labyrinth. Elder eats the pill and says, no one will know if I kill you all. So why would I worry? He uses great reverting pill. He gets buffed and says, I'm overflowing with power. Message popped up saying, all stats will be increased twofold for an hour. Power that wasn't refined within the time limit will disappear. They fell really strong mana pressure. Alice smiles and says, such inferior beings. Jinhyuk puts her back into the ring. She says, what the hell? Jinhyuk thinks, it's gonna be a problem if you get involved, just stay there. Elder screams and says, kill them all. His army runs toward them and says, yes sir. Teresa says, there are a lot of them. Jinhyuk says, is that so? Then we can also summon allies. He summoned the 5 spirits. Battle mode. The all turns into really big monsters. Jinhyuk says, go. Elder says, fight special spirit forces. Show them the power of martial arts. Teresa sees all this and says, I don't know what we should do. Elder jumps using his full force. He appears above Jinhyuk ready to attack. And uses wall-breaking fist. Jinhyuk jumps to dodge the attack and his fist hits the ground. A huge explosion happens. Elder tries to punch him again and again, and says, you arrogant bastard. Stop dodging like a rat and fight me. Jinhyuk sees something and says, oh, found it. Jinhyuk picks up the item he was looking for and says, "What? Why did you stop talking? You must know what this is." Elder says, "That's the most disturbing divine artifact of the 25th floor. Horn that brings despair." Jinhyuk says, "Yes, that's right. It's a divine artifact that causes a disastrous event each time you blow it. It's said that the 4th time you blow it, a great fortune will follow." Elder gets angry and says, "Do you think I'm stupid? You think you can survive after calling forth the 3 disasters in this enclosed space? If you think you can threaten me with that kind of..." Jinhyuk blows up the horn of despair. Elder is shocked out of his mind to see that. A message popped up saying, "The first despair is coming." A really big scorpion appears there. A message popped up saying the grave's first disaster, Black Scorpion, has appeared. Scorpion attacks using his tail. A big explosion happened, a lot of soldiers are flying because of the explosion. Teresa says, "Wait, I can't see Alice." Chun says, "Teresa, this about saving yourself first." Chun activates battlefield selection. Elder gets angry and says, You bastard. Have you finally lost your mind? Are you intending to kill us all here along with yourself?" Jinhyuk says, "You're being dramatic. I'm just getting started. Spritz are protecting them." He goes running really fast. Elder runs after Jinhyuk, and says, "Stop right there." Scorpion attacks them. Elder steps on the tail of Scorpion and jumps. Elder sees something and says, "You insane bastard, stop." Jinhyuk blows the horn again. A message popped up saying, "The second despair is coming." The Grab's second disaster, predator within the mud, appeared in front of the Elder. Elder cuts the tentacle of the predator within the mud. It start eat the army of Muram. Elder says to Liao Wei, "Come support me. We need to take that horn away from Kong Jinhyuk." Liao Wei says, "What do you mean?" Elder says, "Fool. That thing is what's causing this chaos. This is too good for you, but take this. Bring the horn back to me no matter what." Elder throws a sword toward Liao Wei. He picks up the sword and says, "Yes, sir." Fire spirit and earth spirit attacks the scorpion. Elder attacks Jinhyuk. Jinhyuk dodges all his attack with ease. Elder thinks, "I must be patient. He'll continue to blow the horn since he's already begun. It is said that on the 4th blow, an enormous fortune will follow. It's certain he's in a hurry to blow the horn in order to achieve that. I'll make sure. It's me who receives the fortune," is probably what he's thinking right now. It is said that this horn is supposed to be in great luck. But that depends on the perspective. It can be luck to someone, but a despair to another. Jinhyuk blows the horn again. A message popped up saying, "The third despair is coming." A really big shadow warrior appears. The grave's third disaster, Body of Thought. Body of Thought attacks and hits a lot of them. Some says, "Be careful. It disintegrates whatever it touches." Jinhyuk blocks the attack with the shield. He drops the horn and says, "Now if I just naturally drop this, it'll be done." Horn hits the ground. Liao Wei picks up the horn. Elder says, "Yes. Great. I will blow it. Hurry and hand it to me." Elder says, "Liao Wei. What are you doing?" "I said hand it to me." Elder says, "What's the reason you want to blow this ominous item?" "I bet it's because something good will occur. I've worked hard until now. So I will take this chance to be a bit greedy for once." Jinhyuk is surprised and says, "Wait, stop." Liao Wei blow the horn. A message popped up saying, "Luck is coming." Liao shouts and says, "Come to me. Luck." Another message popped up saying, "The king's grave has found peace again." A gate opens outside of the tower. Everyone is shocked to see that. All 3 disaster monster comes out of the portal. A message popped up saying the third disaster is coming. After that we see that Teresa is walking left and right. Chun bring out a big potion and preserve you power Saintess. The only way to get out of this place is by either rendering me powerless or waiting for the time to run out. Remaining time is 5 minutes. He drinks the potion. Teresa says, "How can you be so relaxed? Aren't you worried about Jinhyuk at all?" Chun says, "Worried? About him?" Chun smiles and says, "Do you still not get it after how long we've been with him? Most situation are under that bastard's control. He's the kind of guy who plans the unthinkable. The situation right now is probably exactly what he wanted." He throws a potion toward Teresa and says, "There's no reason or need for us to step up. So just sit down and recover." The come of Chun's protective space and Teresa says, "Where are the disasters?" Leo shouts and get really scared. Jinhyuk is also really scared. Teresa and Chun also get really scared. We see that all the disasters are destroying the world outside of the tower. A message popped up saying, "Witness the punishment for causing chaos at the site of the king's grave." Teresa shouts and says, "Outbreak." A message popped up saying, "The grave's owner is willing to give a chance for atonement to the grave robbers." A portal will be created to where the 3 disasters are. Elder has caught Liao. Liao is crying and saying, "I have to go. My home is in flames right now." Elder says, "Stay still, Liao Wei." Elder says, "There's nothing you can do even if you go there. This is why I told you to hand it over to me." Elder uses early spring. Ream change happens. Elder says, "Take the injured and return." Someone picks up Liao and start to run toward the early spring portal. Elder says, "This is an order." Elder sees the disasters and thinks, "If I were the one to blow the whistle last, would all of those have gone to Murim instead? I failed to get rid of Kong Jinhyuk. But I might have been lucky this time. All the disaster are killing people and destroying the cities." Jinhyuk sees all this and close his fist because of anger. Spirits asks Jinhyuk, "Leader, you okay?" Jinhyuk goes through the portal. Scorpion disaster destroy a building. A player is inside the building. Scorpion attacks again. She uses self-defense chi. She goes flying a fall to ground fall away. She is injured. There are some civilians there as well. She says, "What are you doing just standing there watching? Hurry and evacuate." She stands up ready to fight and thinks, "I have to stall for time until Nangong Tien comes back. Ever for a second more." Scorpion attacks her. Jinhyuk and Chun attacks the scorpion simultaneously. Jinhyuk says, "Chun Yu-sung, do you think you can hold up against that scorpion for 10 minutes? Chun smiles and says, "Then minutes. I'll end the bastard instead." Chun uses battlefield selection, and takes Scorpion to the protective space. A message popped up saying, "Transporting the user to the chosen location." That girl says, "You're Kong Jinhyuk. Why are you here?" Jinhyuk smiles and says, "Why do you think? It's to earn express." Body of Thought is attacking civilians. Teresa appears there and uses sacred reinforcement, and cuts down all the attacks of the Body of Thought. She thinks, there are still a lot of civilians currently evacuating. I have to stall for time for them. In order to save more people. Body of Thought attack her. She tries to block the attack with her shield and all the attacks change direction at the last moment. And kills a lot of civilians. All the civilians that got hit by the attack turns into some kind of monsters. A message popped up saying, "The mind is being contaminated by the Body of Thought." She sees that and says, "The people are changing. All the changed people are attacking Teresa." She is really shocked. They all grabs her shield and sword. The Body of Thought give an evil smile and screams. After that we see that Chun is attacking Scorpion. He activates one-on-one. All the Chun using stats will be increased by 10%. The stats of opponent Black Scorpion will be decreased by 10%. Chun thinks about Jinhyuk and thinks, "I've never seen him look like that before." Chun says, "Right. In the end, he's also not perfect." Chun uses the Song of Swords on scorpions and cuts of Scorpion's tail. Scorpion cough out blood and screams. And the other disaster also screams. A message popped up saying, "Hidden quest is being activated. Kill the 3 disasters. Rewards depend on the results." Alice says, "Contractor, do you want some help? I can take those on my own." Jinhyuk says, "No, there are too many eyes here." Jinhyuk thinks, "I planned on letting them loose in Murim. Then stealing the martial arts text and the great reverting pill during the chaos. I didn't think Liao Wei's greed would get in the way. He sees a lot of dead people. And says, this is frustrating." Jinhyuk brings a bow and arrows. He activates 2-star restraint barrier. He activates Mandara. He is really an attack the second disaster with really strong attacks and says, "From now on, I'll be much more precise and perfect in my calculations." Teresa activates sacred healing on the changing civilian. She thinks, "I can't let the civilians get close to me. They'll all be hurt by my defense power. I need to get rid of the Body of Thought first." She activates Sacred Fall. Goes through the monster civilians with super speed. She activates Sacred Reinforcement. She hits Body of Thought. Body of Thought hits her back. She goes flying. She thinks, the divine power is working. I need to avoid the people that the body of thought is controlling and just focus on it. Body of thoughts grabs the monster civilians. She thinks of her childhood. And someone says, Teresa, listen closely. We have a duty to step up when people are in danger. Even if we have to risk our lives. That's the weight of the name Laurentia. Never forget that, my daughter. She gets really scared. Body of thoughts kills a lot of civilians in front of her. She fall on her knees and says, no. Just kill me instead. Just. She starts to cry tears of blood. A message popped up saying, Saintess is showing signs of corruption. Body of thoughts screams really loud. The second disasters comes flying toward the body of thoughts. Jinhyuk is the one who have thrown the second disasters on the body of thoughts. Jinhyuk is really angry and says, what are you doing? Body of thoughts grabs the second disasters. Jinhyuk says, I get that the body of thought is annoying. But what the hell is this? I can't let you die peacefully. Jinhyuk summons a really big monster. A warning message popped up saying, Tower of Trials is restrained and interfering. A message popped up saying, user's mana load has been increased by 50%. Jinhyuk says, I don't care about my mana. Jinhyuk activates overwhelming authority. That big monster creates a really big energy ball in his mouth. Jinhyuk activates 3-star protection barrier. Jinhyuk says, kill it. That monster activates Sword of Punishment. A really big light beam hits the body of thoughts. Body of thought is turned in ashes. A message popped up saying, body of thought has died. Dragon is also with them. Jinhyuk uses Eye of Gluttony on Teresa. Jinhyuk thinks, for Teresa to experience signs of corruption. Alice says, what? Is that Saintess corrupted? Jinhyuk says, no, not yet. Alice says, Kong Jinhyuk, you know what if means. When a Saintess is corrupted, right? Jinhyuk says, yeah, I know. It means everyone might have to be careful around her in the future. Chun undo the battlefield selection. Scorpion and Chun comes back. Scorpion is dead. Chun levels up a bunch. Jinhyuk says, you did it. Chun says, you can look down on me all you want. I don't care. I know that I have a long way to go. He smiles and says, but this time I saw how I can do it. Jinhyuk gives him a sword and you should throw out things that are broken. Chun bring out the sword and says, this is Heaven's Fountain Sword. Jinhyuk says, good job Chun, you sung. After that a message popped up saying, will you return to the ballroom? Goblin manager says, we found out that the Muram forces illegally interfered. Unbeknownst to the Mangers, causing this incident. Goblin Manger says, I genuinely apologize for this as the tower's high floor manager. However, an apology doesn't make up for it. A message popped up saying, sending high floor manager Hastings punishment. Goblin manager says, Muram has committed a serious crime. I cannot forgive this as a manager. As punishment, I will take Muram force possesses. Those who must choose side, please take this into account. One of them thinks, I can get in contact with neither Carmen nor Moyang Su. I had been investing into Muram, but now they're broke. And where's Liao Wei? He sees Chun's sword and says, that's our Heaven's Fountain sword. He gets angry and says, you stole it. You have the nerve to carry it around in public. Chun gets angry and says, what? Steal. He hits him into the wall. Chun says, I didn't kill him. Watch your mouth from now on. You have fulfilled the conditions for copying. Conditions to copy. Provide a cause to defeat Yoshio using someone else. Once you succeed you will be able to copy the skill sword drawing. Succeeded in copying the skill sword drawing. Description: attack speed and power will increase by 25% when drawing the sword for the first attack. Jinhyuk says, nice. Goblin and Jinhyuk are outside. And Goblin says, it's chaotic because of everyone trying to choose sides. You should have been choosing side with them too. Goblin manager says, I'm sorry about the incident. I apologize again about the fact that I couldn't prevent the interference. Jinhyuk says, what could you have done? You're just one person after all. Goblin manager says, you're right. But you managed to survive. No. I guess it's more correct to say you vanquished them. What will you do now? Is there anything else I can do as a manager? There's two, actually. They both go inside and Goblin manager says, there's a big announcement. Thanks for your attention, everyone. Player Kong Jinhyuk says that he will not be choosing any side. Players says, how is that a big announcement? Wait a bit. Don't you know the importance of listening? Goblin manager says, instead of choosing a side. He says, he will create a new force. They all are surprised and says, that's possible. No way. Or not even residents of the tower. Goblin says, the amount of points Kong Jinhyuk collected today is 1,500,000 points. He fulfilled the hidden condition of collecting more than 1,000,000 points, giving him the privilege of creating a new force. Goblin thinks, of course, we don't know how he managed to find out about this hidden condition. Penheimer appears there and says, wait. I rejected this as the representative of the Empire. Jinhyuk see him and thinks Penheimer. Goblin says, geez, one of the tower's forces has rejected the formation of a new force. According to the tower's rules, this rejection is valid for 1 year. Penheimer says, Kong Jinhyuk. What is going on? You promised to come to our side. Jinhyuk says, I said I'd consider a positive future with the Empire. Penheimer says, you didn't think you could just smooth this over with wordplay like that, did you? We spent a lot of resources in order to fulfill the conditions you put upon us. Penheimer says, don't make me say it twice. Keep you promise. Jinhyuk says, all of the forces are watching this situation. If I lose here, my idea of creating a new forces will go to ashes. Jinhyuk thinks, this is the perfect time to use that. Jinhyuk says, Alice. What, I'm not doing anything like you said. Let me borrow this for a sec. Jinhyuk activates all sharing. Sharing Alice von Ataraxia's skill Blood Road. Jinhyuk activates Blood Road. A message popped up saying, you can now control all the blood of the living beings within a certain range. Penheimer thinks, the blood in my body. It feels like my blood's boiling. Penheimer gets scared and says, he was never someone I could convince into coming onto our side. Jinhyuk brings out a lot of mana pressure and control his blood and says, do you still want to reject? Penheimer gets scared and says, I'll take it back. Please stop. Jinhyuk stops and says, alright. Goblin manager sees toward Kong Jinhyuk and thinks a flashback. Where Goblin says, Kong Jinhyuk. Rick says, I think you better keep an eye on him. I'm sure he will provide us with incredible entertainment. Goblin says, you were right. Now that the rejection has been cancelled, would you please choose a name? He covers his mouth and says, the name. A message popped up saying, a new force name has been registered. Force name, Veteran Company. Penheimer says, I'll see you soon. We'll talk about our relationship again next time. After that Jinhyuk says, Penheimer never tried to be coercive ever again. Beijing's recover progress was quick. Without even trying to get to the bottom of the truth. A great monument for the people who died during the outbreak was built in the square. Someone says, to Xiao Ting. Where is the Zonghua Guild Master, Nangongtian? What will the Zonghua Guild do from now on? Xiao Ting responded that the Zonghua Guild, which was the biggest guild in China, had broken up due to disappearance of the guild master and other higher-ups of important roles. Xiao Ting says, the ones who saved us from this recent outbreak were neither the Zonghua Guild nor the government. The ones who arrived first after the outbreak happened. Where Kong Jinhyuk and Chun Yu-sung. If it weren't for them, the monument would have been a lot bigger. Jinhyuk is strongly activating Cold Heart. A message popped up says, you are able to keep your composure even in tense situations. Alice lie down on a bed and says, this is nice. I almost died of frustration because they wouldn't let me do anything. I never imagined you would just create a new force right then and there. Jinhyuk says, really? Will you use all 1,150,000 coins to increase the capacity of the force to 23? Jinhyuk thinks, after Xiao Ting's interview, my channel started receiving a lot more views and therefore profit. I'll put it to good use. A message popped up saying, the member capacity of your force veteran company has been increased to 23. Jinhyuk creates the invitation and sends them. The first member joined. Jinhyuk says, that was fast. Chun Yu-sung accepted the invitation first. After that was Taemin, Yenhua, Melina and Lee Yuri's group. There were some time differences, but everyone accepted the invitation. And Teresa. Teresa says, I'm sorry, Jinhyuk, I already have a force I've joined. Jinhyuk thinks, Teresa was the only one to reject my offer. I guess it's obvious for a paladin to join the Empire. It's okay, I assumed as much. There's nothing I can do about it. The boss of the 5th floor also joined the force. A message popped up saying, the entirety of the 5th floor is now a part of the force, veteran company. Jin Hyuk thinks, with that, I have almost an endless amount of resources from the lower floors. However, that's not the end. Using, copy free pass. He thinks, I'll also use the reward I got for killing the body of thought. A message popped up saying, you can copy an opponent's skill without fulfilling the copy conditions. Copying Osiris skill, Sun's sacred grounds. Description, you can reproduce the sun's powers. To top it off, I'll distribute the stat points. That's it. Jin Hyuk says, yeah, that's it. It's becoming more perfect than before. Jin Hyuk says, alright, then I'll do this. Alice thinks, geez, I've never seen a human look so evil before. It's hard to get used to sometimes. She realizes something and says, wait. He's the first one to borrow my blood road. Yeah, and there are more weird things. Those aren't things he would know as a human from outside the tower. I better ask him. She starts to glitch out like Jin Hyuk earlier. Jin Hyuk her and says, what are you doing? She says, what was it again? I feel like I was gonna ask you what we're gonna do now. Jin Hyuk says, is that so? We're gonna go to the 8th floor. Of course, I'll take care of some remaining business before that. We see a flashback where Kong Jin Hyuk says to Goblin Manager. Can you give this to someone called Yang Haoming in Murim? He gives him an envelope. This is my second request. Goblin Manager says, well, it's nothing difficult, but. What is this letter? A deal offer. Jin Hyuk goes to the Tower of Trials 5th floor stalactite cave. A Murim member comes there. Jin Hyuk says, you came. Murim affiliated force Black Society leader Yang Haoming. Jin Hyuk brings out a book and says, then, shall we proceed with the trade? And uses Eye of Gluttony. Jin Hyuk thinks, Murim, one of the main forces of the Tower of Trials middle floors. A world where those who have mastered martial arts reside. Heavenly Demon, who is considered to be the strongest of them. And the organization which worships him, the Heavenly Demonic Cult. Within the Heavenly Demonic Cult, Yang Haoming is someone who is regarded rather lowly in contrast to his skills. Right now, when all of Murim's coins had been depleted, his desire for success is at its peak. So, what is it that you want? Yang Haoming says, so, what is it that you want? A copy condition. Yang Haoming is currently crazed over the idea of becoming successful. If you give him a bit of hope of success, you will meet the requirement to copy one of his skills. Jin Hyuk throws a book towards him, says, this is. You're giving me something like this unprompted. What is the meaning of this? Jin Hyuk says, take it. I already got what I wanted. Jin Hyuk thinks, got what he wanted. What is he thinking? It's fine. Even if things go wrong, I have the Blackwind Society's elites here with me. If this truly is the Sword Master's Book of Secret Swordsmanship, this will be of great help in making me successful. I finally have hope of. A message popped up saying, copy conditions have been fulfilled. There are just drawing and stuff on the diary. He is confused and says, what is this? Jin Hyuk says, a diary my swordmaster used to write in as a kid. It was really difficult to steal that. He says, are you kidding me? They says, I've burned through so much money to get here. What did you call me here for? You guys were doing so horribly. That is thought I'd show you something. As the disciple of the Dragon of Heavenly Authority, the Dark Emperor. Yang says, what? Jin Hyuk thinks, Dragon of Heavenly Authority, Dark Emperor. The Heavenly Demon's right arm. An ancestral being with the same roots as the Blackwind Society. They thinks, I don't understand how such a great person's name is coming from the outsider's mouth. Yang stops his troops and says, do not do anything. Yang says, how dare you dirty the name of someone I used to serve. I will shut you up myself. Yang jumps toward him to attack. Jin Hyuk says, just what I wanted. Yan appears behind Jin Hyuk. Yang activates Dark Heaven Arts. And says, die. Jin Hyuk stops him with a single hand with ease. Yang says, impossible. How could you block my Dark Heaven Arts so easily? They say leader. Jin Hyuk combine Grave of Swords and Dark Heaven Arts. Jin Hyuk smiles and says, I can copy and combine other skills. A skill created through combination is combination complete. Jin Hyuk says always a better version of what was combined. He activate Dark Heavenly Demon Emperor Arts. A technique used by the Dark Emperor. Dark Humanity Smashing Fist. Yang gets really scared, and mountain top blows up. There's a hole in wall. Jinhyuk says, what do you think? Do you believe me now? That I'm the Dark Emperor's disciple? Yang thinks, right. I did hear once that he went outside the tower to recruit skilled individuals. The Dark Emperor's already on the move. Yang bow down in front Jinhyuk and says, I greet the Dark Emperor's disciple. They all bow down in front of him and says, I greet the Dark Emperor's disciple. Yang starts to cry and thinks, I, too, finally get a chance to do better in life. Jinhyuk thinks, Muram guys are so easy to convince as long as you just use some martial arts master's name. Alright, I'll leave everything I didn't want to deal with on the 8th floor to him. The 8th floor of the Tower of Trials. Linear distance 10,000 kilometer. A maze of incredible size. It's almost as big as the Earth's circumference. It's so big that it has its own ecosystem. There are really no other threats other than its size. So the method to clear the 8th floor is simple. Find the power crystal hidden somewhere within the maze. And I, the Demonic Human Association's wild card, Melina, was sent out to inspect the 8th floor. The hundreds of entrances leading to the maze are filled with marked stands. It is possible to earn fortunes off the ingredients coming from the maze. Melina thinks, right, I've been worked too hard by Kong Jinhyuk. It's not a bad thing to relax and look around a little. Melina says, how much does this cost? She starts to walk away. Jinhyuk says, where are you going? He marked her and Jinhyuk says, so, you came to the 8th floor to look into the double impact. Melina says, yes. Melina says, Lancelot said that it's getting much clearer on the 8th floor. Jinhyuk thinks, double impact, is a phenomenon that occurs when several floors are moving somewhere at a larger scale. She says, it stings. Melina sees something and throws her dagger toward it. He blocks the attack. Jinhyuk stops him and says, stop. We're on the same side. Jinhyuk says, Melina, do you really think it's okay to just throw your dagger at strangers at fist sight? Who hides their own allies in their shadows? Let's do some introductions. Jinhyuk says, this is the Black Wind Society's Wolyung. A copy condition window appears saying, currently Wolyung is only with you because of Yang Haoming's command, not because he trusts you. If you manage to earn his trust, you can copy one of his skills. Jinhyuk sees toward him and thinks, earn his trust. What should I do to get that? Melina says, what's up with you clothes? Are you shooting a movie? A lot of troops surrounds Melina. Jinhyuk says, tone it down, Melina. There are about 30 people hidden in the shadows. Melina says, great. Then you have enough to clear the 8th floor. She starts to walk away and says, it was nice to see you. Good luck, and see you in the next meeting. Jinhyuk activates Brand of Tribulation. She comes back and says, let's go leader. After that we see that at 20 kilometers from the entrance of the 8th floor. A player says, team leader. The scout team didn't come back this time either. They are from Rockheed Guild. And their team leader is a rank player Jack Friedman. Jack thinks something is wrong. There shouldn't be any big threats on this floor. A shadow appears in front of Jack and he says, what is happening in there? A monster comes out of the shadows. Jack says, physical reinforcement. A lot of arrows comes toward Jack and he blocks all the attacks coming toward him. Jank starts to shake and says, what's with this power? There shouldn't be any monsters here that are this strong. The shouts and says, it's an ambush. Everyone prepare for battle. One of them sees the monsters and says, what? They're just goblins. I'll take care of them. She activates flame spheres. Goblins doesn't get any damage. And they're fast. One of the goblin hits her. She gets poison effects and chow out blood. Someone shouts, Catherine, these bastards are using poison. Watch out. They ask team leader for orders. He thinks not normal goblins. They're strong. We'll all die at this rate. Wolyung also appears there. Jack sees him and thinks who? All the shadow soldiers attacks goblins and says, carry out the order. Jack says, you're unknown. Jinhyuk and Melina comes here. Jinhyuk sees the goblin head and says, this symbol is. A lot of arrows comes flying toward Jinhyuk. Jinhyuk uses moon hiding nails. Jinhyuk says, you guys are the ones with the javelins. Jinhyuk activates Sword Demon King's steps. All the monster attacks him using Mana Javelin. Jinhyuk appears in between the monsters. Jinhyuk uses Dark Heavenly Demon Emperor Arts. Jin-hyuk hits them with powerful punches. Jack sees that, and thinks I couldn't see any movements. A message popped up saying Woolyoung's respect for you has increased by 5 out of 100. Jin-hyuk thinks, so he's the type to feel respect if he sees something like this. Melina says, what are all these monsters? There was never anything like this on the 8th floor. Jin-hyuk thinks, this symbol is one that's given by the boss monster on the 9th floor. Plus, ogres don't even reside on this floor. Jin-hyuk says, I get what the consequences of double impact are. Melina says, what? They seize toward the sky. The 8th and 9th floor hive been conjoined. Jin-hyuk says, there are a lot of monsters watching them using crystal ball. One of the monsters says, we've got an annoying interferer. Everything is for the Great One. The 12th part of the max level newbie ends here. And if you want me support financially you can join my Patreon only for $5. My goal is 50 Patreon and then I will become a full-time YouTuber. Patreon and Discord links are in the description if you want support me. Thanks for watching.